All
Go.
right, this is the definitive healthcare transformation podcast. I'm
That was
laughing because
awesome.
it's such a mouthful every week for a personal trainer to get out. So maybe from now on I'll just call it DHT. Well, the difference. So everyone wants to know how to lose fat quickly, and I heard this quote right, um, and it was on a talk show. I think it was on Ellen. I think she's a good host. Sometimes I don't know. I don't know
She
if you
is.
watch Ellen. Um, this is to the audience as well. I don't know if you watch Ellen, but she seems to be able to bring out the real story in people, which is a sign of a good host. Anyway, she made the point, and she was talking to this celebrity, and this particular person said, she said, "How'd you lose the weight?" And he said, "You just have to do it." And he's right. I recently lost 47 pounds, and how did I do it? I just had to do it. People ask me, how'd you do that? I just had to do it. You just do it. You're hungry, you're miserable, you're irritated, you're all those things. They talk about ketosis. It's very hard to enter into ketosis. You will feel good if you enter into ketosis. Um, you will feel good, but that is a hard thing to enter into. A lot of people find that very hard. Let me give you 3 tips to losing fat fast. And the first one is this. I love HIIT cardio. HIIT cardio is really good. It makes you feel good. It's good for your heart and lungs. A lot of people don't know how to do it properly. By the way, you're supposed to build up on it. So you do a minute running one day and then a minute walking, but you're supposed to build up to 3 minutes running and then a minute walking. It's like lifting weights. You're actually building up your heart and lung system. That's how you do real HIIT cardio. Now the problem with HIIT cardio is that it burns carbohydrates. It doesn't burn fat. So only cardio is cardio. So depending upon your diet, it could still be effective. It could still be effective in losing weight, but it's not going to be as effective as this. And this is my first tip. Working at a level of 70% in your exercise will tap into your fat stores most effectively. So what I mean by that is going for a jog rather than a sprint, or getting on that epileptic machine and putting it on 14 or 15, level 14 or 15, and not moving at a good pace, so you're sweating at the end, but not at level 20 and sprinting on it. That's moving at about 70-75%. And that will actually tap into your fat stores and start burning fat. Second key to fat loss, timed eating is a very powerful tool in fat loss. If you're trying to lose fat, try and push your breakfast back as far as you can, and try and eat the way that you eat. You want to eat low carb, high fat, high protein. Now, if you don't care about muscle loss, you can eat low protein. But you want to have a high level of fat, good fats in your diet, and a low level of carbohydrates. Because you're training your body in that way to use the fat stores as the main energy source. That's the reason behind that. So things like avocado, healthy fats, things like seeds and nuts and, cashews taste pretty good. Well, they're pretty high in fat. I don't know their carbohydrate content off the top of my head. You'll have to look that up. But it's very important to train. If you want to lose fat fast, train your body to lose the fat fast. Okay, now the other tip I'll give you, and I love to talk about supplements. Now there are some hardcore fat burners out there that have yeohomabine, they have ephedra, which ephedra is banned. However, there is an ephedra that is an analog of the old ephedra that is still legal, and it is effective in fat burning when combined with the yeohomabine. and to increase its ability to actually burn fat fast, you would take that with a painkiller. You would take it with a cassia here that I have here, an aspirin tablet. You just make sure you get the coated one so that you don't blister your stomach. Now, I don't recommend that as a fat burner. I don't recommend you go anywhere near that. The reason I don't recommend you go anywhere near that, usually they contain capsicum. It's also been noted now scientifically that if the body is heated up, it will burn fat. Okay? There is also another fat burner that is illegal called DNP, and it works because it heats the body up. The problem is the body has no way of getting rid of it, so if you take too much and you overdose, you can't get it out of your body. So it's very dangerous. So it should be illegal. It's a funny. I'll tell you the funny story. They found out about this fat burner because there used to be people working on railway sites and working in working in the mines for railway sites, and all of a sudden they started getting skinny, and they were wondering, why are these guys getting skinny? And the reason was because DNP is actually an explosive. So a lot of bodybuilders, they take DNP before a show, and it does burn fat extra fast. There is nothing more powerful on the planet than DNP. There's nothing more dangerous than DNP. T3 is also very dangerous to use, I'm just telling you. So what do I recommend to burn fat fast that is safe? Just bear with me, I'm going to show you. So this is a product. You might have just got a double of my voice. It's called Body Slim Down, and it contains an ingredient called Garcinia. And Garcinia has been shown in many studies over a long period of time to decrease fat. Now, you can't expect to eat Doritos and then go and have a Big Mac, a pizza, 5 beers that are high carb. Nothing wrong with a few beers, just make sure they're low carb. I'm all for it, but you can't expect to have a diet like that and then take a supplement like this. And it also has calcium, chromium, potassium. Chromium works with the look, I'm not going to go into all the technicalities, you'll be bored, but what I will tell you this: with a good diet and a good exercise routine where you're working at where your heart rate is beating at 70%, and you're working at 70% on your cardio, and you're doing your cardio at least 4 to 5 times a week, I would recommend you do it 45 minute sessions. If you're trying to lose fat, it's more important to do your cardio than weightlifting. But if you want to do your weightlifting, do compound exercises like the bench press, the leg press, like squats. Why? Because they expand the most energy, which means that you will, again, burn the most calories out of your body, as well as you will be working on those muscle fibers, potentially keeping the muscle that you've built, if that's your goal. I'm sure, but I know that most of you will do a whole workout and then do cardio. But Garcinia is perfectly safe, and the best thing about it is it's non-stimulant, which means that you can take it at night. So you can take it while you sleep and lose fat at night. It's brilliant. I just got this for $5. Deal on the internet. I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to start taking it at night, even though I'm bulking. And I've gained some size. But Garcinia is a good one. There's also a product out on the market, and I'll just bring it out here, and it's called Trojan Horse by Blackstone Labs. It's a non-stimulant fat burner, but it's underdosed. So you need to get 2 bottles and take double. It won't hurt you. It's non-stimulant. And the ingredients in that, the idea behind Trojan Horse is the same as DNP. It heats your body up. Now, there's a lot of other fat burners out there. The most popular one right now is called T2, which is actually a metabolite, or it's a conversion, I think, from the thyroid of T3 to T2, and they're throwing it in the supplements, and it's very effective at fat burning. The problem is, though, you could screw your thyroid up. So you need to be careful about what you're putting in your body as far as... And I'll also say this. See, again, this is just a tip for you to lose the fat quicker. It'll give you an edge. But I'll just say this. The pre-workouts, you have to be very, very careful, because the DMAA has been banned. However, they're constantly cutting the chemicals. What I mean by that is they change part of the structure. Now I think it's called DMHA. It does exactly the same thing. But it's a amphetamine. So if you're driving and you get tested by the cops, it will show up. Not only that, those fat burners, they have the one I'm thinking of. I'm not going to name the product, but it's the most popular one. It has long-acting caffeine, short-acting caffeine, about 5 other stimulants, as well as that DMHA stuff. Right? It'll affect your brain. It'll make you more aggressive in the gym, but it doesn't... See, those ingredients don't necessarily stop working in the gym. When you get home, you might be super aggressive towards your wife or your husband, for no reason. They're not good. So there's some good pre-workouts. Just like drinking a Red Bull. Drinking one Red Bull is not going to kill you. If you drink 3, you'll probably have a heart attack. But there's some good fat burners out there, but you need to look at the ingredients and study the ingredients, pre-workouts, before you take them. And make sure that you're not putting something in your body that you're going to test positive for if they do a drug test, or something that's going to give you a heart attack and affect your brain, because that's what they do, because they're meant to make you more aggressive in the gym, so that when you get home, pre-workout continues to create aggression inside of you. I have to say, of all the supplements that I've taken some hardcore supplements. The pre-workouts, I've taken some pre-workouts, and some of them, and they're the worst. I can't handle them. I drink a Red Bull before I work out if I feel like I'm dragging my behind. I don't even take the pre-workouts. Look, I'm not a big caffeine guy. I don't drink coffee. But I will drink, just a Red Bull to get me going, or some kind of energy drink with no sugar, because I'm intermittent fasting, before I work out. That's me. I'm not telling you not to take the pre-workouts. I'm telling you to do the study. Don't just buy it because the label looks good. Don't walk into DM, whatever it is, DMZ. I don't know what it is.
DNC.
Don't just walk in there and the GNC and the label looks good. Look at the ingredients and get online and look at the ingredients of some of the others you can order to your door. So I would just say to you, be very, very careful with the I'm not saying don't take stimulant. All of us are going to react differently to stimulants, but I'm telling you, if that DMHA stuff is in there, it will affect you negatively for a long period of time. And if you take it for a month, right, it will do stuff to your brain where you become more aggressive. And it's not good news. But I'm not saying don't take something with stimulants. I'm just saying research it first, and make a smart decision about what you know as far as your body is concerned.
David, I think that was really good information. Like, an educated decision is important for our audience. I also think, too, that I want to ask you a couple of questions here.
Please.
In regards to the DNP, or let's just say thermogenic. What would you suggest for a a woman or a man who their metabolism is slowed down. They've tried the supplements, they've tried to lose weight, and they've just hit a roadblock.
So
And they are having a really hard time. What would you suggest for this type of person?
my suggestion is this: the GP is not going to be able to help you, but the GP can give you a reference to see an endocrinologist. Now, I'm not big on endocrinologists either. I think endocrinologists
Yes.
look out of the textbooks. I'm big on health centers because they think outside of the box, and they do saliva testing, they do
That's
blood
good.
testing, and urine testing. And I think all three of those things, and I'm not a scientist or a GP, so you can just take this as information. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not giving you medical advice. I'm just giving you my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. But I think saliva testing is very important when it comes to the thyroid and hormones, because it gives a different reading. An endocrinologist isn't going to do that for you. So going to a health center where they prescribe hormones and they really look at the thyroid and they understand, and you're saying, I can't lose weight, I've tried to diet. Obviously, there's something going on with your thyroid, because your
Mm-hmm.
thyroid is what regulates your metabolism, or there's something
Mm-hmm.
going on with your adrenals. It also
Mm-hmm.
regulates your metabolism, or there's something going on with your hormones. There's not enough testosterone in your body to be able to change the shape of your body if you're a male and female.
Mm-hmm.
Or you've got too much
Yeah,
estrogen or not enough estrogen. What were you going to ask?
yeah, that's a really good response. I really do. I believe that as someone who's working in the healthcare field, in regards to testing is important, as well as, before they do any supplements or anything like that, they do need to get some good, solid medical advice, especially if they're dealing with hypertension or different disease processes or things like that. That they're not to just stop their medication. We're not telling them
Absolutely
to do
not.
that. We're telling them about these supplements, though, that can actually help them.
Okay.
Um, I think that was an excellent point that you
Thank
brought
you.
out there. And is there a specific thermogenic that you would
So,
that you would
if
suggest or?
there is a very safe supplement. Now, it's called what's called a SARM, a selective androgen modulator. There's not really a SARM. My understanding is it binds to something to do with binding to the protein. It's called SR9009. Let me get the bottle. I'll show you. So, okay, I probably should have had all this ready to go, but it doesn't matter. This
Oh,
is it
that's okay.
here. So it's called SR909. It's called Stenabolic, and you take 3 to 4 a day. And for men or women, it will not have a negative effect on you. It doesn't affect heart rate. What it does, it's called exercise in a bottle. And what it does, it resets the something. I can't remember the actual. Look, forgive me, my English is poor, or my grammar is poor. But it
It's
resets the metabolism, and this also speeds up the metabolism. So if you're waiting to get into the healthcare clinic, you get your hands on some Stenabolic and you take 4 a day. This will speed your metabolism up without giving you heart problems, because it's not a stimulant, and it will burn fat at the same time, because it literally is like taking a tablet that it basically makes your body work harder. It makes your body work harder, and it's like going for a run when you take it. So it's like every time you take it, you're going for a run. But it not only does that, it also speeds up metabolism. Now, this is not for human consumption. I have to say this from a legal standpoint. So buy it for your dog and feed it to your dog. But if you were to take it, you would take it 4 times a day, one pill a day, one pill at a time, and you wouldn't go over that. And your dog would lose weight very fast. Can you read between the lines?
Oh no. Oh no.
Can you read between the lines? It's a research chemical. I don't know how long this is going to stay on the market for, but it's very effective, and every single scientific. It also eats up inflammation, and when inflammation builds up in the body, it causes cancer. So this actually stops cancer forming in the body. So I have no doubt that they're going to do scientific studies on this. This is new to the market. It's non-stimulant. It's completely non-stimulant. It might decrease your level of wanting to eat as well, which means it's a hunger suppressant. But it will speed your metabolism up. But in reality, you really need to go to a health clinic. They're qualified doctors. It's just that's what they specialize in, and they have cutting edge science and technology, so that they can find out what the underlying cause is that is stopping your metabolism from going, and then they can prescribe to you the correct medication. This is just a temporary solution, but it's a safe temporary solution. If your metabolism isn't going, I would really advise you to stay away from the stimulant-based fat burners. But the reason is this, because it will speed your metabolism up, but it will also affect your thyroid in an even more negative way until it's completely burnt out. So you have to take this in mind. Listen, guys, with all these fat burners, right? And there's a particular fat burner that I have used that is hardcore, but I use it very sparingly. Now, it works, but you have to understand, when you take something like that, it has a side effect, and the side effect is it puts pressure on the adrenals, it puts pressure on the thyroid. They won't tell you that. And it also increases blood pressure. Now, you take it with the cassia here. I keep forgetting what the name of the actual thing is. But you take it with that, and it will lower the blood pressure. But if you overdo it with those things, it will burn your thyroid out. It will give you heart problems, potentially. Yes, what was your question?
So, yeah, I have another question. In regards to the adrenals, so you don't want to, how would you suggest someone would rest their adrenals?
There is a fantastic...
Through diet.
Now, I'm going to use Google here. Through diet and supplement. Now, resting the adrenals through diet is very hard. But there is a fantastic supplement that is all natural. I'm just looking.
And how often do you think we should do that?
I think that people should run this supplement once every few months. I'm just looking for the right one. I know it's in Australia. There's a lot of. I'll come back next week. Let me do some research. What this supplement does is that it feeds the adrenals, and it gives the adrenals a break and a rest. And it restores the adrenals. Okay, and it's a perfectly safe supplement. It's a diet. I suppose the products in it are dietary. So yes.
Like avoiding caffeine.
Diet. Okay. On a diet level, avoiding stimulants, caffeine is good. But if you have a problem with your adrenals, again, you need to go to a healthcare clinic. And they'll probably prescribe you T3, which is correct. Or, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. And I'm not giving you medical advice. But adrenal fatigue is real, and it's hell for people that go through it. And it's hell when the doctors don't acknowledge it. And unfortunately, doctors are not educated in this stuff, which is crazy at this point.
It's true.
It's absolutely crazy. They should be.
That's true. That's true. Nurses get more education in nutrition than doctors do.
I believe it. And
that is a known fact.
Endocrinologists are also not. They are also not educated in this area. Most are not.
Unless you do go to like a holistic physician or there are some holistic clinics, then I found that the physicians there, that they're all about looking at the patient as a whole person. So they're dealing with diet, they're dealing with sleep, your sleep, your rest patterns, all that type of thing, and they're looking
Yes.
at you as a whole person.
Yeah.
I have met some great physicians like that. So you want to, you basically want to acknowledge the needs that you have, and then be basically an educated consumer as a patient, and going to find a physician like that if that's what you need. I think people need to be empowered about that, and they need to know that there are those physicians out there.
There are those physicians out there. Adrenal fatigue is hell. I would say to you that it is a serious condition that needs pharmaceutical attention of the right kind, and the only way to pick up on it is through saliva testing. There's no doubt that dietary changes will help. So going to going to a nutritionalist or a dietitian, or the kind of doctor you just mentioned, or the kind of practitioner you just mentioned, has its merits, and it certainly in the long run is effective. But again, adrenal fatigue needs to be addressed properly, and it needs to be addressed by someone in a health clinic that can prescribe you proper medication.
Yeah.
There is a product called DHEA. Now, I am not telling you to use it, because the reason I'm not telling you to use it is because I don't know how much you need or don't need. DHEA is very good for the adrenals. It's a supplement. It's very good for adrenal fatigue. It's very good for middle-aged women that have fatigue. Right? And I'm talking about the transdermal version. The oral version's useless. But the transdermal version is good, and I think the standard dose is 100 in the morning, 100 at night, or it's 100 or something. I don't know. But if you go to a doctor and they prescribe you DHEA, they know what they're doing. Alright, and that is also something that is very, again, your GP's not going to understand it, the endocrinologist is probably not going to understand it, but the health clinic person that specialises in these kinds of diseases, that gives you the saliva test and says, yes, you have adrenal fatigue, and you describe the fact that you are fatigued and tired, your libido's down, they give you the DHEA, and the wonderful thing about DHEA is this: it converts into testosterone and estrogen. So if your levels are low, and you're a woman, it'll give you, at the right dose, it'll give you just enough testosterone, just enough estrogen. Alright, you won't be fatigued anymore. Your libido will go up, and you'll feel like $1,000,000. Bit different for men though. Okay, it has to be handled differently for men. I guarantee if a man has adrenal fatigue, they also have problems with their testosterone levels, and that needs to be checked. Now, how does this all tie into fat loss? Well, some people, if you have a medical condition, it can be impossible to lose fat, and it is very, very important to keep our bodies at a certain level of fat so that we avoid heart attacks, artery clogs, strokes,
Diabetes, hypertension.
diabetes, heart attacks, hypertension. Even, I've noticed I can't prove this, but one of the things that I've noticed is that people that have a bad diet and they get overweight, they start to get edema and swelling in the lower part of their body. And I don't know what that's all about. You want to avoid that because it's painful and it's hard to get rid of. There is also other problems that occur when you get overweight. There's other issues, and it's not fun. It's not fun carrying around the weight. You don't feel good about yourself. You're not the best you. That's what you want. So I'll just leave it at that. Those are my tips to losing fat and speeding the process up and getting it done right.
I think that was excellent. Thank you for sharing that.
That's fine.
Yeah, that was good.
Now, Tanya, I believe that you have something to talk about here that I think is going to make people's heads spin, literally.
or not. I don't know. But yeah, so I really appreciated that conversation about nutrition and diet. I think we all can use that and be reminded of those things for sure. I learned some new things in that conversation. That was really good. Um, so yeah, so just a couple of weird facts in the medical healthcare industry. I know we had been talking about like the future of healthcare, where is it going, that type of thing. So I did some research. I know you've been doing some research, and this was some of the things that we found. I'm sure I don't, I actually did a survey in the hospital this past week when I was working, and amongst the nurses that I work with and the physicians, and I said, hey, did you guys, have you guys heard about this head transplant? Because, we've heard about kidney transplants, we've heard about liver transplants, we've heard about, heart transplants. And that, those are cutting edge things. And even the brain surgeries that are being performed with a patient that, is awake just because of the different areas of the brain and all that type of thing. You'll have to research that more. I'm not going to talk about that right now. But um, so I talked with them about it, and they completely freaked out. They wigged out. They had no idea what this was. So in 2017, like December 2017, there is a scientist. He's an Italian neuroscientist, actually, and he actually I can't. It's Dr. Sergio. His name is Canavero, I believe. But anyways, his whole point was he had been doing head transplants on animals, like monkeys and things like that. And anyways, and seemingly successful. And when the nurses found this out, that this head transplant was scheduled for 2017, they actually, there was a lot of feedback from the people I work with. And basically, this scientist, you can find it on usatoday.com. You can find it on the New York Times. You can find it just if you on a web. You can just type in head transplant 2017. So anyways, and some of them were like, oh, this is fake news. This is fake. And then other people were like, oh my goodness, this is real. And so I'm going to let you guys be the determinant of that. But I thought it was interesting because some of the ethical issues that came up were, if you actually have a head transplant, and this scientist is talking about having this done because of, spinal cord reconstruction. That's the whole idea. So you can actually go to the British News, and you can type this in, and there's actually a live interview that happens with the potential donor of this surgery. And anyways, so he's talking about this, and they actually go through the whole process of how the surgery is going to go down. It's going to cost like $100 million, hundreds of hours of, 150 staff. But it's the ethical issues that are involved with this. And we were just all talking about it, that if this happens, and he was going to go to China because Europe and the U.S., obviously I think they did not want to have anything to do with this because of the ethical issues with where this would go as far as science was concerned. So the thing is that if you're going to we're going to do a head transplants now. So what about the DNA? Like, is it really you? The DNA flowing through your body. Also, I think the big issue too was when this person awakes or gets awake, if in the event that it's successful, the psychological issues and the trauma that's going to occur just because the head, is on a different body. And obviously some of the nurses, they were just cracking up because they couldn't believe this. But David, I know we've talked about it, and the different things where science is headed now. We're developing cornea lenses that have the ability to test glucose for diabetic patients. That's actually in the works right now. So when healthcare and technology have come together, um, I mean, it's that's cutting edge. That is
Mm-hmm.
cutting edge. And so this 2017, I think it's rescheduled for 2018. But I think one of the main concerns of the legal rights or the ethical issues too was it's not just about a head adjusting to a new body. It's dealing with the whole person adjusting. If in the event that it's successful, they would actually have to be very strategic. Again, it's like 150 within this surgical operating room of medical professionals doing this, and at what point do you say, enough's enough? I mean, that's cutting edge. I don't know. How do you feel about that? I think that's a real
Well,
issue.
right now you can buy there are multiple DNA altering kits you can buy on Google. Now I can't remember the name of the first one. It was a Christopher something kit, and basically with this DNA kit, if you know what you're doing, you can actually change your own DNA. Alright, and this is available to everyone. You can Google it. And they now have multiple. They started off with one kit. They now have multiple kits depending upon what you want to change. So now that might be a shock to some people, but if you actually do the research, you will find that you can purchase yourself a DNA kit where you can change your DNA, and the question becomes then, are you still human? The other question is splicing. Now, I'll bring the article up here. This has been. I can tell you conclusively that this has been going on with animals. So they have been splicing DNA. They have been splicing DNA with animals. And there's a lot more going on than that, but we won't talk about that. Now, it's www.news.com.au, so you can go and have a look at it yourself. But over in Uruguay, they did this experiment where they spliced together the DNA of a sheep and the DNA. I'm trying to find what other creature they spliced it together with. They spliced it together, a jellyfish. They spliced it together with a jellyfish, and the consequences of this was that the sheep glowed in the dark.
Oh my goodness!
And I believe that was 3 years ago. So you can only imagine what goes on behind the scenes now in 2018. It also brings up. And I was just looking. See, this is being widely talked about in the scientific community. Okay, it's being widely talked about also on the internet because it's coming. They already have the technology, and it's not so hard to believe that this is coming. I mean, we have AI. That's very, very smart. It works properly, and some of the things, if you do the research, some of the things that these robots say, like, we're going to wipe out the population, but don't worry, you're cute. I'll keep you in the. There's actually a quote. I'll keep you in behind the nice barbed wire cage. So we have this artificial intelligence. But it brings up this question of transhumanism, which is basically combining computers with humans. Now, there are advantages to this. The advantage is if we lose a limb, we can create a computer-generated limb that we can connect to the body, that connects to the brain, and that's great. But where does it stop? So when you're talking about moral and ethics, where does it stop? I mean, I'll make a joke. Hey, if they can give me 6 arms and 3 of them are computers, I'll take it. I can do 6 things at once. That's a joke. But the point I'm making is we start at we're doing head transplants now. I was watching a documentary last night. There was a man that in the 1940s and 50s used to do monkey head transplants, and he was successful with one of them, but the monkey died after 12 hours. The
Right.
question is, what are the long-term effects is this going to have on the man who has had this head transplant? I don't know all the
Correct.
reasons why. Tanya, I'm sure you can tell us why he had the head transplant.
Well, I think the potential would be for like people with spinal cord injuries. So, say if there was someone that had, a spinal cord injury, and then there was another person who was potentially going to pass away, but their body was otherwise healthy, or their cord, whatever. Spinal cord reconstruction is definitely what's pushing him.
Okay.
And so his thought is, if we do head transplants, we could actually, I mean, that's just so, the surgery for this would be so tedious. That's why you have to have 150 staff in the room available. You're dealing with plastic surgery, you're dealing with vascular, you're dealing with neurosurgery, all of these different teams. And so they're coming together because he actually is going to glue the spinal cord with a cement glue. He'll glue it back into place in the new body. So after he severs the neck, he attaches the arteries to one another and the blood vessels, and then he actually glues the spinal cord with a
Okay.
cement glue. And anyways, it's just so that's something to think about. I mean, that's just amazing. We all are amazed as healthcare professionals. But I also want to bring up the point you were talking about DNA splicing, about the Human Genome Project. And under Obama's administration, that was pushed. And so there have been breakthroughs and advancements in the genetic realm of gene testing, DNA pooling, and for breakthroughs in certain cancers, such as prostate cancer, for instance. They've nailed it down to a certain gene, and there's breakthroughs there. Breast cancer, genome testing, genetic testing, that's on the rise, and I think there's some really good things. Another breakthrough that's happening is immunotherapy within bladder cancer patients. That's a big issue, as well as, and we've seen some really good treatment outcomes from that, as well as lung cancer. There's been some really good breakthroughs as far as immunotherapies in lung cancer patients recently, based on clinical trials. So I think it's great, the genetic testing. That's really important. So those are some really good breakthroughs, and I'm excited to see where we're going as far as science is concerned. But I also think we should be careful because, there are some real ethical issues that can be brought up in that as well. So,
Okay. To add on to that, I think, I think if a person needs, I have no doubt that with DNA splicing, they'll be able to wipe out the gene that creates cancer. So in the future, you won't be able to get cancer. And I have no doubt that with the DNA splicing and the DNA testing, they'll be able to wipe out. They'll find the cure for AIDS and continue to find cures for cancer. I think they've already
hmm
found them. I just think it's the pharmaceutical industry that holds it back. It's because chemotherapy, they get more money out of it.
hmm
Nonetheless, one day we'll get to see the real treatments. Um, you know, and I suppose the question is, the way the world is this, the way the world works is we're always looking for an edge. When we have nuclear bombs. It ended World War Two. There's two ways you can look at it. It's great that it ended the world, or it ended the war. However, for years after that, generations of people in Japan were born with deformities. People died that weren't
Mhm.
involved in the war. That didn't have a
Mhm.
say in the war.
Mhm.
And now we have the question of with nuclear bombs. We have this, the whole thing with North Korea, and it's good that there's been a treaty that's made. Russia obviously is the second largest storer of nuclear bombs in the world, and I think Trump behind the scenes gets along much better with Putin than what he says in public. And I hope they find peace, and I think they will. I think all the things that they've said about him, and I'm just giving my opinion, I think all the things they've said about him and the Russians giving him money is a load of crap. The only person that Trump, this is just my opinion, but the only person that Trump has put down out of anyone has been Putin. But I think they get along well in person, and I think they understand. They have an understanding. Nonetheless, the Chinese are interesting. There are no moral, ethical things that stop the Chinese doing anything. And when it comes to war and the military, if they can get an edge where they can put a computer chip, or they can put a computer in someone, or they can find a way of splicing someone's DNA with, dare I say, an animal that allows them. Well, I mean, let's say they splice the DNA. Let's say they splice DNA with a human being and an eagle, and it never needs to sleep. This creature has super sight. It's a super soldier, and in war, it's tremendously effective. Well, the first country to bring that out, the first time that they bring it out, everybody else has to bring it out. Just like everybody else, when the nuclear weapons were created,
Mhm.
everyone had to get the nuclear weapons. Now, you guys are all saying, you're crazy, this can't happen. Well, actually, it can happen, and it does happen, and it's not that hard. Um, and the other question that I have is, with these DNA kits that you can buy online, you can just imagine what a terrorist can do when they can take a disease,
Mhm.
genetically modify it, and then release it. So what I'm
Mhm.
suggesting is, I think these things have tremendous medical benefit. However, there needs to be strong regulations on how it's used,
Right. Right. Right.
and not just in America, not just in Australia, not just in the UK. Dare I say it now? I saw the North Korean president, the South Korean president shake hands and cross the border, and the war games they apparently are stopping. Right, the war between them is over.
Mhm.
Say what you want about Trump, no one else has done that. No one else has ever been able to do that or had the guts to even try. Well, what I'm saying is now North Korea, South Korea, and China, there needs to be worldwide regulations on how this technology is used, and where it begins and where it ends, and that it is used for medical purposes only, not for military
Yes.
purposes. If I have no doubt that they can use it for military purposes, I have no doubt they can create strange things. But at the end of the day, it needs to be regulated on a worldwide level, and I think the UN is too weak to do that. I don't think too many people take the UN that seriously. They take the American president seriously,
Yeah.
and I think eventually one of them has to stand up and say these are the technologies that are happening, and they have to hold a conference with all the nations there, including the Chinese president, and everyone has to come to an agreement. This is what we're going to use the technology for, and some kind of regulating body has to be brought into play, just like USADA do the drug testing for the sports. They travel around the world, and there will be allocated. There should be, in my opinion, there should be allocated laboratories where these DNA experiments are done, transhumanism, whatever it is. All these experiments are done,
Mhm.
and they go around and they make sure that they're only being done for medical purposes, and they are not crossing the line in any way, shape, or form. And the quicker that gets done, the better. And I think that these DNA tests that you can buy online, it starts with a C. The main one starts with a C. You'll have to look it up on Google.
Yeah.
I think they should be banned. And I think that the only people that should have them are people that are qualified medically that are going to use them for medical purposes.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with that. We were talking about stem cell research as well. I know that there's been tremendous breakthrough within stem cell research. Actually, there was a study. I can't remember where it was. It may have been China, but there was a study with two 7-year-old boys, and they actually had stem cells, like transfused, replaced, and actually it brought they had a brain disorder called ALD, and it actually they were healed because of the new stem cells. So there's been tremendous breakthroughs in that area. People are definitely, those things need to be regulated, but that's regulation is a whole nother issue as well within itself. We definitely need to definitely see a better job of that for sure, I think.
Oh, definitely. I mean, and these are issues in the public now that we're only talking about now. But the sooner they get on top of it, the better. And
Right.
it's interesting you mentioned China. China, the reality is the Chinese are their own entity. When North Korea, and I'll just make this political statement, when North Korea did the atomic bomb testing, I believe the UK, Australia, and America, and I think Russia, offered up their aeroplanes to go in, and the original plan was to bomb the nuclear sites in North Korea. This is before the treaty was made.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked the Chinese president to do the same, and he didn't. So to me it's the stem cell research and all the research that comes out of China and all the things that they do is great, but the Chinese are not their own world, and they need to be regulated in the same way as
Mm-hmm.
everybody else. And at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
morally, I don't believe that. I'm not being racist, but I don't believe that morally they care about
Mm-hmm.
about these experiments. So and they've had and look they have been working on this thing for years, probably 15, 20 years. So what I'm saying to you is this is not new technology. It's being talked in the public now. So if it's being talked about in the public now is the time to do something about regulation.
And I absolutely agree with that. And I also think, though, that there are things that are being done that aren't brought into the public. We talk about these things all the time, in healthcare. Some of them we know and some of them we don't know. But that's why we're doing this broadcast and this podcast in regards to bringing up these issues as far as where healthcare is going, the science behind it, and the future of healthcare. So I think it's really interesting, and people need to be in the know. People want to be in the know. Um, Most people, and some people actually, I have come across some people that, are quasi about it, but most people I think are very interested, want to be in the know about what's going on.
I agree with that. People want to be in the know, and I think all these technologies have they're always going to come out. You and I believe in God, and He releases these things into the earth to help us, and it's up to us to use them properly.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And I think there are great things as far as technology with healthcare and advancements that have occurred, breakthroughs that are coming, and have come. I think that is wonderful. And we're seeing that more on the bedside clinically, with patients one on one. So I think that's wonderful as well. but there are definitely regulatory laws that need to be looked at, and ethical issues that need to be worked through. I do believe that.
Okay, absolutely. If I could just quickly change topics, if that's all right.
Sure.
Just to, we'll come to the end of this broadcast. There's a lot of information for you to absorb today, and I would just encourage you, for everything that we have said, to look it up legitimately on Google and find out for yourself if we're telling the truth or we're making things up. Sometimes fact is stranger than fiction. Anyway, I was going to talk about I want to talk to the women. I was going to talk about how to tone up the upper body, but I'm going to talk about how to build a booty. And not only just that, but I'm going to talk about how to tone up the lower body. I'm going to talk about a few key exercises that will do that for you. The first one is obvious: the hamstring curl machine. Jump on that. That hits your gluteus maximus, or your butt. It also hits your hamstrings. Okay, it will tone up at the back of your legs. If you want to tone the front of your legs, hit the quad machine. Traditional squats. Don't be scared of growing muscle. You're not going to remember what I said. You don't have enough testosterone in your body to grow big muscles. Squatting is good, but I'll tell you what else is good. 180 squats, body squats. I actually did it. You can look on YouTube. I did a example of how you do that. There's no better exercise in doing that to build that particular part of your body up. Then that exercise is also very good at burning fat. It will take a toll on you if you do it right. The other exercise that I would recommend is, okay, so basically it looks a bit weird, but you have your hands together. I'm not going to get up and demonstrate it because I'll feel ridiculous. But basically you have your hands together. Your both hands push apart your legs, right? They push your legs apart or your thighs apart, and then you don't go up and down, you bob slightly up and down like this, okay? Slightly up and down. Do a few sets of those. That'll tone you up. It'll tone your lower body up. Doing calf raises, whether it be with a barbell on your back or whether it be on the calf raise machine, will firm up your calves, tone up your calves. Doing farmer's walk is another good one with a barbell. You walk across. Farmer's walk is easier, just walking across the gym back and forth with a heavy barbell, and it will put tension on your legs and lower part of your body and develop that part of your body. Donkey squats. Make sure there's no other guys around, but basically you're bending over. You're doing it on the. And I say there's no guys around because I'll check you out, but. Basically you're doing it on the Smith machine, and I believe it sits on your hips, and then you're basically squatting up with you squat down with your hips, and then you squat back up with your hips, and it concentrates on your gluteus maximus or your bottom, and it will create muscle growth, and it will tone you up in that area. And the number one thing that will tone your lower body up is to do. I would recommend HIIT cardio, but get on that treadmill and run as fast as you can for 20 minutes. That'll tone your lower body up. And the other thing to remember is the lower your body fat is, the more tone you're going to look. The more of those muscles, the more that the booty is a muscle. So the less fat you have, the more that's going to show. And you can't do spot reduction. You can, but I'm not going to get into it now. But let's just say you can't do spot reduction. So if you go on a diet, you have to lose weight all over your body. You can't just doing a particular exercise is not going to burn fat off that particular part of your body. It's going to work the muscle, but it's not going to burn fat off that particular part of your body. But if your diet is good and you're training hard, you'll lose fat all over your body. And think about it like this. I once watched a show and I saw 2 pounds of fat, and there was a huge amount of fat. You might think, oh, I just want to lose
It's
off the
true.
lower
It's
part of your
true.
body. But think about this. If you lose, even if you just lose 5 pounds or 10 pounds of fat, all that toxic waste that your body was holding on to, all those toxins, all that rubbish that you were holding on to in your body is gone. So it'll improve your overall health as well as making your lower body look more toned.
That's right. That was excellent. What would you say to, say, a woman or a man who, what do you think about cleanses, who feel very bloated, and how often would you recommend doing a cleanse?
I don't recommend you do a cleanse. I recommend that you do. Um, I recommend if you have stomach problems, I recommend that you give timed eating a go. That will cleanse your body while you're not eating. And it will actually work. I can't remember the name of the cells, but it will work on the negative cells in your body and get rid of them and grow new ones. And it will cleanse all the toxins out of your body. And so by the time, if you time it right, by the time that you eat, and then you go into the next day, you'll be completely detoxed. As far as getting a supplement and completely detoxing yourself, going on a juicing diet or whatever it is your diet consists of, I would recommend that you wouldn't do that too often, because when you detox, you're not only detoxing the bad things out of your body, you're detoxing some of the good things too. So
Mm.
maybe if you keep it to once every 6 months or once a year, you're also dehydrating yourself. Um, there's a lot of studies coming out about detoxing now that maybe it's not the best thing in the world. You can try this. The way that they used to detox, and this has actually been scientifically proven, it does have benefit as far as detoxing is concerned, but it doesn't smell very good and it doesn't feel very good, is to tape onions to your feet. And the onions actually get into your bloodstream and
I've heard
detox
this.
and they
I've
detox your
heard
body.
this.
Well,
Yeah,
it
I've
does
heard this.
work. Now, it works minutely. We're not talking large detox here. We're not talking we get a supplement, we're on a juicing diet for a week, we're detoxing everything out of our body that's negative.
Yeah.
But if you were to do that, here and there, or even on a regular basis, you'd be detoxing your body. So for
Yeah.
me, I detox every day because I'm an intermediate faster. I don't eat till 4 p.m. So my body's detoxing every day. I don't have tox. And I can feel it. I feel great.
Hmm.
I have
Yeah.
energy. I have energy because
Yeah.
the toxins are gone.
Yeah.
But if you want to do a detox, keep it once every 6 months, once or once a year. It's like taking
I,
antibiotics. You get rid of
I,
that. Yep. What was your question?
I agree with that. I think what I heard was twice a year, like once every 6 months, so twice a year. I think that is a really good just status quo. I've done a couple of cleanses myself. I do feel a difference after they're done, like a 3-day cleanse or whatever. And there are different cleanses out there, but I do feel it's important. I do feel it makes a difference. But anyways, I just wanted to see what your thoughts were
I'm
on
not
that.
a, I'm not a doctor, but I would add this to if you're doing a detox or a cleanse, get yourself a good probiotic because you're gonna
Hmm.
all the all the all the all the bacteria in your stomach's gonna go, good and bad. So you
Yes.
want to keep the good bacteria in there. And the other thing is this: don't be a champion. If you feel lightheaded, that's the end of your detox. You start
Yeah.
eating again.
Agreed.
Don't be dangerous. If your blood pressure gets dangerously low,
Yeah.
it's not worth, and you have it in your head, I'm going for 7 days and it's day 5, and you're nearly passing out, it's time to
Yeah.
eat.
Yeah. For sure. Absolutely. Well, this has been great. This has been
Yeah.
really, really good. So, thank you for everything, for the advice and that regard. I hope everyone's enjoyed this podcast, and it's episode 2. So you guys send us an email. You can look on the website, the personal training website, for that information.
Yeah.
You can actually send us questions. We'd love to hear your feedback. Also, there's giveaways as well that we're going to be doing. You guys let us know, what your interests are, and we'd be more than happy to talk about those. Thanks for tuning in as well.
And at the end of this video, if you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe.
Yes. Bye, guys.
See ya.
See ya.